without further ado, the congressman from Indiana, Marlin Stutzman. Congressman, good to see you. So you're back at home in Indiana. Speaker sent everybody home. What do you think of that tactic?
Well, I think it's the right tactic, Sean. First of all, great to be with you and good to see you again. As I talk to constituents in my hometown and across the district, people are like, first of all, some, they don't even recognize that the government's shut down because they're not paying attention to the news. But also those that are, they're like, you know what, support President Trump. This is an opportunity for him to cut down the size of the federal government, support President Trump. And, Democrats are just playing games here. And thank you for doing your job in the House and, stick to your guns.
I mean, it seems like you guys really don't have anything to do in the sense that you've passed your bill, it's in the Senate, and now you kind of wait. But I guess the question I have for you is, couldn't you at least be trying to jam some of these appropriations bills over? So whether it's military or construction or veterans, you kind of put the Senate on notice. Hey, take that off the table. The government shuts down, but we'll take, veterans off the table. We'll take, of the 12 bills, we'll just start taking some off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely could. But I think that, Speaker Mike Johnson and as President Trump and Leader Thune talk through this, I think that they're looking at it from the perspective that, Democrats aren't going to help on any of this as of right now. But there are 3 Democrats that have been voting with Republicans in the Senate to get to that cloture vote. So at the end of the day, you need 6 or 7 Democrats to vote for the bill in the Senate. Honestly, Sean, I think this is all politics. I think once Democrats feel like they may, win the election in Virginia, once they've got the Northern Virginia Democrats that are mostly federal government employees riled up enough and blame Trump, they'll probably agree to the CR and then we'll push it out to November 15th. We could definitely be passing the appropriations bills, but I think it also, we need the American people to understand who's holding things up in Washington, and that's Chuck Schumer and the Democrats.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I'll just tell you, I think Jay Jones, the lieutenant governor nominee, I mentioned this earlier in the show, has maybe tampened down a little of their excitement about the November election. And we're 30 days out today in Virginia from our election. And I'll tell you, I haven't felt more excited. I mean, I was a little worried, but Jay Jones pulled what I like to call a Terry McAuliffe. You remember Terry McAuliffe classically stepped in it and said parents shouldn't be involved in education. It was like a huge political gift. And then Jay Jones talking about assassinating his opponents. I mean, these guys have bungled this thing. So I just want to be clear. I don't know. Their tactics might be a little off now. Let me just ask you though about you sit on the budget committee. I was actually the budget committee spokesman for 3 years, so a little familiar with the committee. The question I have for you is the process broken? Like everybody knows when the end of the fiscal year is, and yet we kind of do this like, oh my gosh, we're shocked that we haven't done anything every September 30th. Do we need to look at the process and redo it?
Well, I think, Sean, the process is broken in the Senate. I mean, if I were, king for the day, I would say that the budget does not need a cloture vote in the Senate. I mean, we can pass a budget out of the House with 50+1 votes to move the budget out of the House, but it's that 60 vote cloture vote that's in the Senate that keeps us from passing this CR. And so I think that's what's broken. I think if you would just simply say, if the Senate would say on budgetary matters, we're going to not require the filibuster vote, the cloture vote, and they can keep it for everything else if that's what they want to do, then that way the majority party, whether it's Republican or Democrat, can pass a budget and we're not stuck with these CRs and these omnibus bills. And then that way the majority party is also responsible to the American people come the next election. If the American people don't like the budget, if they don't like the spending priorities that each party has made, then they can vote that particular party out of office. But that's the tweak that I think that needs to be made. I'm sure that, we've got others that we could talk about as well. I'm not a big fan of Congressional Budget Office scoring and things like that. But I think that 60 vote cloture vote is the biggest hurdle for getting a budget passed.
So speaking of the 60 vote cloture, right? So why not urge the Senate to do that right now? Say, great, change the rules, pass with the budget, keep it open with 50, and let's go. I mean, to some degree, that's the dirty little secret right now. They could change the rules, they could vote with a majority, and they could just pass to keep the government open, and then we get what we want.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not in those Senate conversations, and why the senators are afraid to do that. I mean, I always hear, well, just remember they're going to have the majority someday, and then they're going to stick it down our throats. Well, at the same time, the American people, we're the ones suffering from this cloture vote, because look what's happened over time. I mean, Obamacare was passed through under reconciliation. A lot of these, the big policy positions are passed under reconciliation that doesn't need the cloture vote anyway. So, that's when you only need 51 votes to pass it in the Senate. And these are the big policy decisions that are being passed there. So I wish that they would at least, they've done that a little bit on some of the judges, but they're always afraid that, well, we're set precedent here, then we're going to eventually get it jammed down our throats when Democrats are in charge. I tell you what, Democrats will do it. I mean, they've done it. And so that's why we need to take the opportunity to do it now.
I mean, don't you think that's the thing? We always get worried that, oh my gosh, they're going to do it. They do it. They're the ones who started it. And then every time we get worried about what the precedent is going to start, but they do it all the time. They're the ones who, I mean, Harry Reid went nuclear, as they like to refer to it, early on. They're the ones who started these partisan fights on judges with Judge Bork back in the 80s. They're the ones who do it. And then we get all like into the fetal position to go, oh my gosh, precedent. And what's going to happen if they get back in charge? And my answer is, what do you think they're going to do? These are the same guys who already talk about, like, in a campaign commitment to get rid of the filibuster. You think they're going to maintain it?
Well, Sean, we're dealing with the same thing in Indiana right now with the state legislature and redistricting. I'm a big supporter of President Trump and the fact that we need to redistrict here in Indiana. And I was telling a group of Republicans the other day, it's like, is it something that we want to do? I understand that this isn't the normal time, but guess what? Democrats have already redistricted. They've already done it. They've already maximized their districts out in Illinois, California, New York. I mean, there's a couple more they could maybe get here and there, but we play by the rules. They don't. They want the levers of power at any cost, and that's what they will do. And it reminds me a little bit of the old British military back during the Revolutionary War. They fought by the rules of war, marching in a line. And the Patriots, they're like, well, we can't win this way, so we're going to go fight a different way, and they won. Well, we need to fight the same way. And so when it comes to redistricting, the cloture vote, Republicans need to stand and say, look, this is what's good for the American people and to get our debt and deficit down. And also, we cannot let if they're going to play these games with redistricting, we need to fight fire with fire and do the same thing.
I love the analogy. I never heard anybody bring that up before, but you're so right. Like, our country's founded on being asymmetrical. We're like, hey, we can't win this way, but we can win that way, so let's do it. And now suddenly we're reverting back to a bunch of British subjects and being like, the rules in the Robert's Rules of Order continue to say, why not be who we are? And be like, let's play a little asymmetrical warfare here and do what we have to do. So you brought it up. Tell me, where do things stand with Indiana, and how I mean, are you going to get it done? And if so, how many seats do we net?
Well, we have to do it, Sean. I mean, I tell my friends, I mean, I served in the state house back during the 2002 to 2010. I've got a lot of friends there. And I'm trying to explain to them how different it is in Washington and, the House of Representatives and the Senate that it is in Indiana. When we have super majorities in Indiana, we used to not back in the 2000s. And I think it's going to get done, but I know I've heard the state Senate is dragging their feet a little bit. Again, I tell them, I'm like, look at it from the perspective of the census. Indiana's not a sanctuary state. We don't just say, hey, illegals, non-citizens, come to Indiana, we'll take care of you. There's a couple cities that try it, but we're not like California. We're not like Illinois. Massachusetts, for example, they're 9-0. We are about the same size as Massachusetts, and we have 9 congressional seats, and we're 7-2. And one of those seats is a swing seat. I mean, it could have gone Republican. I think if the candidate would have run again this last time with Trump, I think we could have won that. It's only a D+2. And so we could go 9-0 in Indiana. I mean, a kindergarten class could draw the maps in Indiana, and we would go 9-0. And so it's just, To me, it's a no-brainer. But I understand the thought, and want to be thoughtful here by the Senate and the House here in Indiana. But I'll tell you, the precedent, if we don't do it when Ohio does it, Texas and other states do it, Indiana doesn't look like the team player. And that's what I think is really important for us to remember, that we've got to stick together as a party and make sure that we support Trump and the Republican Party.
All right, so I'll use my kindergarten math. If you have a supermajority and a Republican governor, which you do, then
Yes.
where, like, okay, then that 2 + 2 = 4. Why, like, where's the holdup? Are these guys just being skittish? Is it that some Republicans aren't committed enough? Like, what am
It
I
breaks,
missing here?
it breaks the precedent
Are
because
you kidding me? That's
no,
what this is.
absolutely, Sean. That's the precedent. It changes the precedent because we always do redistricting after the census.
All right, so a bunch of your legislators were out here. I actually tangentially met with a couple of them, and what I had heard coming out of that White House meeting from some of the folks was that President Trump and the team did a good job of getting one or two of them over the finish line. So give me a ballpark here. Are we at 95% likely going to do this? Is there a deadline that we're going to miss? Like, where are we in this process, timeline and number wise?
Well, Governor Braun is very supportive of doing it, and it's up to him to call the session, whether it's a special session or they somehow tie it into the scheduled legislative session. I'm hearing most House members are there. Again, with super majorities, it's not like we have to have every
Right.
Republican, even though I think it'd be good if every Republican did, because here's the thing, Sean, you remember back in the days, I mean, it used to be tight in Indiana, but when Obama and Hillary came to Indiana during the '08 campaign in a primary that was contested, that's when all the Reagan Democrats, all the Blue Dog Democrats heard from Hillary and Obama, like, this is the new Democrat Party. And I'm explaining to them, this is not grandma's old Democrat Party anymore. This is a very different party. We just need, it would be good if everybody supported it as Republicans because it'd be the right thing to do. But second of all, we just need to get some of the senators, past the precedent and say, look, here's another precedent that we need to take into consideration, Sean, is 100,000 Illinoisans have moved into Indiana since the census was taken because of bad policies in Illinois. And I don't think most of them are bringing their politics along. So that's another reason that we need to redistrict, to make sure that Hoosiers have a fair representation in Washington, because these other states are sanctuary states. They have more non-citizen illegals in their states that were counted in the census that Indiana didn't have. And a lot of other states are the same way. So that's why I think this is important to redistrict, because there's an imbalance here in Washington, that conservative states have fewer seats compared to the liberal states.
If this is done at a level higher than kindergarten, will you guys go for the full 9-0, or will it be like some mealy mouth 8-1?
I mean, there's no reason, if you're going to do it, I mean, go 9-0, and it could be done. And I would say that, Andre Carson, who's the Democrat in Indianapolis, he's the one that has a protected seat of anybody, because they've just drawn a district around Indianapolis for him. And so think about all those folks in Indianapolis that, would like to have a more balanced representative in Washington. And again, I mean, this is we draw the maps. We have the super majorities. This is our responsibility, and we should do it.
Ohio missed a deadline last week. Is there a deadline for Indiana? I know, because obviously even you have to run. You need to know who your constituents are. So what's the timeline look like here?
Well, we start filing after the first of the year, so January 4th, 5th, somewhere in there. And I don't know the exact rules on that, if the districts have to be set by then, or if they could even change them at the beginning of January. I think that, they're looking at all of that. We do have a day, or a week actually, that we have Organization Day in November, right before Thanksgiving. If it were up to me, I would say wrap it around that Organization Day in November, and have all of the conversations. They're happening now, and I think there's momentum. More people are understanding why, and that the Democrats have already done this. I mean, if you look at the Illinois map, there's some sort of snake and dragon weaving up through. They have gerrymandered their districts so badly. And you look at Indiana's, and ours are nice and square. And it's like, we're the good kid. and
Yeah.
they're the bad kids. And
Yeah.
but guess what? Oftentimes the bad kid wins on the playground because they play by different rules.
Yeah, well, we got to get the kindergartners to start drawing a little bit more creatively. Congressman Marlin Stutzman, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being with us.
You bet. Thanks, Sean. Great to be with
bet.
you.